Howdy, you sexy sons of bitches. Today we're going to check out protocol delegate communication. This is essentially a method of passing data between objects in Swift. More formally, you can call it a design pattern that enables one object to communicate with another object by delegating some of its responsibilities or events. So today I'm going to continue with this approach that I started in the previous tutorial that I uploaded, and I think this is going to become an ongoing approach where I'm going to try and teach these concepts by using visual representations. So let's see how this goes. I created this little diagram to help us see what's going on, what the code is setting up, and then we'll go back and look at the actual code itself, and I'll build out the I'll build out the code and what it's going to do. So we have two view controllers here. We have, let's see, I think I have lasers here. We have this employee view controller and this boss view controller. This is a common kind of abstract naming pattern for conceptualizing how a protocol delegate communication pattern works. The basic idea is that you have this boss view controller that's going to have some information, some data, something that it needs to have happen, and it's going to tell this employee view controller, it's going to give this employee view controller that data. It's going to say, hey, use this data, and then the employee VC is going to go and do something with that data. And so we'll see how that works in an actual example in a second. But I think the best first place to start is, the first thing we're going to do is create a protocol. Now, if you don't know what a protocol is, you can look that up online, or I can make another video describing protocols more in depth, but essentially you're going to create your protocol, call it whatever, describing the protocol itself, and then end it in delegate in order to indicate to yourself and other people on your team the purpose of this protocol, and that it's using that protocol delegate method. And essentially within this protocol definition, you're just going to declare a function, and that function is going to have some, whatever parameters. It's going to have its function name. You're just going to declare it. You're not actually going to write out the functionality, so it's just the definition. And then in your boss VC, this is the view controller that's going to have that data, or whatever object is going to have that data. You're going to declare so this weak var right here is a little bit complicated. I'll kind of show you what I mean by that when we're actually writing the code out. But it might be a weak var, it might just be a regular var, depending on the way that you set up your protocol. And within here, you're going to simply declare a variable called delegate, or you can make it more specific, name it really whatever you want. And you're going to declare it of this type. And you're either going to want to force unwrap it, or leave it as an optional, kind of depending on the situation that you have set up. And that's going to depend. I'll get into that after, actually. And then you'll come down here, and you'll have some function, and basically this is going to be the function that's going to tell the employee what's going on. And what you're going to do is you're going to call that delegate. Since that delegate is conforms to your color, in our case, color delegate protocol, it's going to have that function. You're going to call that function, and in our case, we're going to put a color in there. But you're going to put whatever data it is that you want to pass to your object, to your employee VC, or your employee object that you want to have do something with that data. So coming over to look at our employee VC, you have, first off, when you're pulling up, say we're going from our employee VC to our boss VC, we're going to initialize this delegate variable as self. And in this case, self is representing employee VC. So that means that this whole VC is actually going to be, if I copy, paste, whoa, too much sauce. Here we go, bring that down a little bit. It's actually going to be contained within this delegate variable. And then when we come down here, where'd my laser point go? There it is. When we come back down here, we can see that since employee VC conforms to color delegate, this protocol over here, it's going to have to define the change color function, where it's actually going to kind of write out the implementation of the function instead of just the declaration. Actually, I think this is the declaration. So you declare the function within the protocol definition, and then you define the function in the actual view controller that's going to conform to that protocol. And essentially what's happening here is you're saying, okay, boss VC, this is your employee right here. Something happens, some func is going to be called, access your employee VC, and call the change color function, and pass in this data. When this data, let's see, I gotta deal with that stuff. When this data gets passed in to right here, this VC can then do stuff with this data. So let's go ahead and hop over to the code, and I'll show you kind of what that means on a more concrete level. All right, we're going to start looking at some code. I got a little bit of a project set up here that we can look at. First, I have these two view controllers. I came up with my own naming convention, the alpha VC, the little bitch VC, because the alpha view controller tells the little bitch what to do, and the little bitch just does it. I got a couple of IB actions set up for these buttons, red, blue, green. When you look at the little bitch VC, you got a UI view right here. I just have an IB outlet for that as well, and a button that segues over to the alpha VC, as well as a prepare function already kind of set up in the little bitch VC. So this segue is pretty straightforward. You just unwrap the destination from segue.destination as alpha VC, and then we'll have it print hello to show that the segue is being called, and then beyond that, it doesn't really do anything except for go from the little bitch VC to the alpha VC when you click on select color. The first thing we're going to do here is set up our color delegate, or at least we'll set up our protocol, and that will create our color delegate. You could also do this in the alpha VC, but as your projects get bigger, you might want to create your own protocols file. So just a regular protocol declaration. You could also add these things called constraints right here, but those are complicated and kind of beyond the scope of this video. If I did a more in-depth protocol video, we could talk about that. At this point, we're going to declare our function. We'll call it, let's go with, I guess, just change color to our color, and then that'll be of type UI color. And then, let's see, we've got an error here. Oh, just got to import UI kit in order to use UI color. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the alpha VC and start setting up this protocol delegate communication. So the first thing we want to do is create that delegate variable that we're going to use to access the employee or the little bitch VC. We'll go ahead and declare it as a weak var, call it delegate, and we'll make it of type color delegate. It'll just be the type of that protocol that we just declared. As a general naming convention, be sure to have your protocols start with with your capital letters, just like how a class name might. And as you can see, we get this kind of weird looking error, and that's happening because we don't have any constraints on our protocol definition. And this is where that kind of funny business that I was talking about comes in with this weak keyword. Basically, if you have constraints on your protocol, then you need to use weak var. If you don't have constraints on your protocol, then you don't want to use weak var. You just want to use var. But again, all that we can go more in depth with in another video. Now, the other thing is looking at this, are we going to make it optional or are we going to force unwrap it? In our case, we can force unwrap it because the only way we're going to get to this view controller is from that little bitch VC, and we're going to set it up so that every time we access alpha VC, we're going to declare this delegate as the little bitch VC. Or using the little bitch VC, or we're going to initialize it using the little bitch VC, so we can safely unwrap it. But if there are multiple ways to access this this view controller, then we probably want to use an optional, and then within these functions, we would want to, whenever we use the delegate, we want to unwrap it whenever we use it throughout this view controller. Now, since we've declared this delegate variable that of color delegate type, we can go through these functions and we can use delegate.changeColor, because now since delegate is of type color delegate, we can access that change color function, and we can pass in UI color.red, blue, and green based on which button is being pressed. Now, if we come over to the little bitch VC, it's time to kind of tell this little bitch what to do. So we can come into this prepare for segue and go ahead and tell the destination view controller, that destination view controller being alpha VC, thus meaning that we can access this delegate variable. We want to go ahead and tell it, hey Mr. Alpha VC, I'm the little bitch, tell me what to do. So throw down here, destination.delegate equals self. Self is just referring to this VC. Now, in order to actually use this function, the change color function, we need to make sure that the little bitch VC conforms to the color delegate. And when we do that, we're going to be asked to add this, what are called the stubs. And that basically means, hey, you're using this function, but you haven't defined the function. You haven't told us like what it's going to do. So tell us what it's going to do. So we can go ahead and put the function definition in here and say, okay, well, here's what it's going to do. It's going to set the color view, which is that little black box that I showed you before. We're going to set the background color to the color that we passed in. And since background color is up to type UI color, it'll do the trick. So we can come in here, we can click red, go down. Hey, look at that, we got a red box. We come over here, we hit blue. Hey, look at that, we got a blue box. Want to switch it to green? Oh, whoa, what do you know? We got a green box. And that's how you do it. That's how it's done. You tell it what to do, it does it. It's like, all right, aye, aye, captain. All right, to briefly summarize, we've got this delegate, which, thanks to the prepare function, we define to be this little bitch VC. And so that means, since the little bitch VC has this change color function, if we go over to the little bitch VC, we can see, oh hey, there's the change color function. So we're able to access that through that delegate variable. You go over here, you can look at, we're passing in this UI color.green value, and that allows color, or color variable, or argument, to have that UI.green whatever color value, and then we can put that color value into the background color property of the color view, and the color view is that UI view that we have right here, just set up with a basic UI IB outlet. So yeah, hopefully that gives you a good comprehensive understanding of what's going on here, how everything's moving around, and sets you up to be able to implement this in more complicated situations. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good one.